Good day, YouTubers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world, we've got a new problem. The cannons are getting smaller. Okay. The Type A cannons that we've got up there on the ship had a much larger axle and wheel diameter. The Type B cannons, which we've just got punched out here, we got 4 of those. And then we got 6 of the Type C cannons that we got to build. So we got 10 more cannons altogether. But our problem is these holes for the axle is much smaller than the ones that we had for the Type A cannons. And this rod that came in the ship kit was fine for Type A, but Type B and C, the axle hole is much smaller. There isn't a smaller dowel in the kit that I could find that would fit that. Maybe I'm going to look a little more and see if there's one in there that'll do it. So this old man, he played 2. According to our shoe, we could put a piece of 1mm material in there would work. Got some nails that I can cut off and make work pretty easy. So I'm going to try doing some fitting on one to see if I have to use something like this. I'd rather use the wood because then it all glues together with wood glue better. So let me dig around and figure out the best axle material to use. And of course, like we did on the Type A cannons, in order to get that axle in there, you got to cut away the bottom of the frame because it's just on the edge of being too tight for the axle to fit, even with the right diameter. So first thing I'm going to do is cut away some of these frames like we did on the A cannons, and then see if I can fit this nail or brass material in there if I can't find the wood that I need, because I could make this work, but it would take a lot of time to sand these down to the right diameter, and then you got to deal with the length and everything. So we got 10 more of these things to go, and we don't want to be dragging butt shaping little micro pieces. There's always a battle ahead, and this is it. Let me see if I can find some smaller wood in here. Seemed like they wouldn't make you build something that doesn't fit. This is the Type C cannons. There's 6 of them. We haven't punched out of there yet. The ones we've already done are going to go on the main deck. Type B cannons go on the rear of the ship, and the Type C cannons go at the front of the bow. And before we install them, we got a little framework to add underneath where the cannon's set. Give it some strength in the wall there. A lot of detail work just to get to the point where we can add some cannonballs. Good grief almighty, you've got to build little boxes. Yeah, this is getting tough. So let me dig around and see if we can make this work. We got to build 10 more frames to hold 10 more cannons. Okay, we got 3 of the 4 done. I got to figure out a way to drill this out after it dries to relieve the back of that, so I can put the shaft in there for the wheels. I always screw up on the first one. So put these in the right orientation because the mark is different on each end. The step part of the cannon goes to the wider part of the base, and I'm just putting a pencil mark where that shaft is going to go. Because if you try to glue these together before you put the shaft in there, you can see how the opening of the wheel is blocked by that base. So we got to relieve the base a little bit. So I'm going to take these over to the Dremel after I glue this back on. And we will relieve the base. Sorry about that camera. Let's take these over to the Dremel. So this is fairly straightforward. Get a good grip on it. Get your hands out in the middle of nowhere, it's hard to hold it. So I just want to take a little bit off so that shaft can get through there on the bottom side of this brace. Alright, we got the Type B. There's 4 sets of Type B, that's the smallest one. And a metal. I just used an old rusty finishing nail and cut it off to go in there, and then after all this dries, I'll sand them off or cut them off, paint them. We gotta let that dry for a day at least, because we want them to be nice and solid before we put any pressure on them. So we got 6 of the Type C cannons. Yep, Type C is the medium size. Type B is the small ones over here. So we got them all glued up. Could not find the right size wooden shaft. Everything in there is 2 millimeters. And the small ones are 1 millimeter. These are about 1.5 millimeters. So it'll work for both of them. I just gotta sand them off. I'm gonna go put a lot of vibrating pressure on them with the sander. I may have to, I don't know, we'll have to just see what happens when we go to clean those up before we paint them. But we got them all glued up, so that's the 10 that we needed to make up paint before we go finishing all that rigging. Are you screaming yet? I know I was. Guess what I forgot? I forgot the stainless steel plates that go on the side. I had all 10 of them glued up with the wheels. It's just where the wheels glue on there is where the problem is. So what I'm doing now is trying not to bump the camera, but I'm opening that little slot up between the wheel and the side of the frame. Getting the glue away from the face of the frame so that this metal will go on the face there. Some of them aren't bad, but other ones are big old blob of glue in the way. Get that one there cleaned off. You be real careful not to break that slot where the axle goes through on the side of the frame. And then grab this with the tweezers. A liberal amount of E6000. In the back first. Get that front, go up against the wall, and then down. Getting a cramp in my finger because this yeah, I'm glad I got all done gluing them up, and I said, after all this trouble with these axles, because the wood wouldn't work, it was too fat, and it was too much work to skim it down, I forgot to put the metal on. So the glue was still pliable enough that I could open that little spot up between the axle and the side of the frame and the wheel. Get this to slip down in there, because it goes down in there almost to half the diameter of the wheel. So we got it. Now let them dry so we can paint. Okay, so we got the next step done. Painting. I'm gonna wait for the red to dry, and then I'll do some black on the same kind of places we did black on these others. Here's one of the other ones. I think my brass black came in, but I'm not sure. Got some packages I haven't opened yet. These are going to be tougher because they're smaller. You can see how much smaller. That's the C cannons, or no, the little ones I think are the C cannons, and then those are B. Those are smaller than the A. Whatever, but they're smaller and smaller. So going on vacation next week. We're going to take Mufasa with us. So won't get a whole lot done next week. This week I'm going to try to finish all the rigging. Today is Tuesday. So if I can get a bunch of rigging done tomorrow to match these. A whole bunch of tying blocks and ropes and single pulleys and double pulleys. Alright, we got them all glued up. The eyelets mounted and the strapping down. And the type C and type B cannons. These are the type A we're working on the rigging. So I have streamlined this a little bit. Let's see if we can get where we can see this better. So this tail here will tie off to the eyelet on the side of the cannon. And then that pin eyelet will go into the wall of the ship. So this looks pretty good this way. It's just a three-step process. We got to tie the first block to an eyelet, and then tie a tail on the second block, step 2, and then step 3, turn that second block around in the vise and connect with the third rope you start from the eyelet with the third rope, go to the underside of the double block, come out, go to the single block, back out, go back to the double block, to the second hole, and then back to the eyelet and tie it off. So the eyelet has 3 ropes on it. One from strapping the first block, and then 2 from the holes in the second block. So got a pair done. That'll be for the 3rd cannon. And then we got 9 more plus 10 is 19 times 2. So we got to do that 19 times 2 times, which is a whole bunch of tying and very painstaking. Each time I do a knot before I cut the scrap, I put a little dab of super glue on the knot. That seems to keep it where I don't have to worry about something coming loose later on. Thanks for watching.